I'm just going to put everyone else on mute for the moment, just so that it doesn't skip who's on the speaker view. I will just pin myself as well, so hopefully that makes it a little bit easier for everyone too. So just going to start with a little warm up, just so that all of our limbs are moving. Let me know if you can't see anything or if you can't hear anything. Feel free to unmute if you need to. So just going to start with the head, so just gentle circles. Just keep going. I'm going to let Effie in. There we go. And the other way. I'm just going to roll the shoulders backwards. So you're trying to make as big a circle as you can with the shoulders. Trying to make sure that you feel your shoulder blades coming together at the back. And forward. Going to arm swings. You're trying to make these as big as possible, as big a circle, close to the head. And the other way. And just coming across the body. So keeping the shoulders down, keeping the elbows straight. So just getting a nice stretch along the shoulder here. And the other side. All right, just going to warm up the hips. So just doing some hip circles as big or as small as you like. All we're trying to do is open up the hip flexors at the front here, most particularly when they come forward. And the other way. All right, going to do a quad stretch. So just picking up one leg, trying to keep the knees close together if you can. Keep them tight. So if you're not feeling enough of a stretch, you can push this hip out a little bit further to increase the stretch up the front of the lifted leg. And the other side. And then just a hamstring stretch. So all we're doing is extending one leg in front of us, heel on the ground, toes pulling back towards us. And you can lean down if you like. It'll just help increase the stretch up the back of this leg here. Just warming up the hamstring. And the other side. Oh, sorry, just a second. Oh, yes. Oh, thanks, Bessie. Sorry, I'm just going to have to pause for a second, guys. Sorry, I'm just in the middle of teaching. Thank you. Cheers. Lovely, thank you. Sorry, lovely person dropping off some mail that got badly delivered. So other leg, just stretching to the back here. So, sorry, Rosie, that one's from Josie, who's just up there. All right, so we're just going to do some ankle circles. I do apologize. The problem with being out the front is that I do get to see more people than normal. Other way. And the other foot. And back the other way. Just going to everything joggle out a little bit. Shake it out, shake out the fingers, shake out the feet. All right. So for those of you who haven't joined us before, my name's Emily. You can call me M, MJ, whatever you like. Michael is one of our senior students from the Naginata group. Effie, you've done a couple of these online sessions with us before. Emma, I don't think we've met before, but nice to meet you. So what you'll notice is this is not most traditional Naginata class. I am not wearing traditional Naginata gear, and this is partly to allow you to be able to see what it is that my body is doing during the session. When I wear hakama and kokogi, it's a lot harder to see body position, and especially in terms of the legs, they get hidden by the hakama. So this way you can hopefully get a little bit of the better idea of all the positioning and all the footwork when it's not being blocked by the standard uniform. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to unmute, ask a question, all very welcome. So because this is about the third or fourth session of these we've done, I am going to try and kind of review more than teach new stuff at the start. So we're going to review sort of the basic footwork, basic stances, and a few of the basic cuts hopefully too as well. and then we might look at a few extra bits and pieces. But again, if you have any questions at any point, if something's unclear, if you can't see anything, if you just want a little more clarification, unmute, ask the question, and we'll go from there. As some of you know, I do not believe there is such a thing as a silly question. If you have a need to ask a question, it's probably because something's not been explained clearly. So feel free at any point to voice up. So I'm just going to start with walking through a few basics. For those of you who are trying to practice at home, you can use something like a broom handle or a mop handle. What I have here is, this is not the style of Naginata we normally train with. The Atarashi Naginata actually has a bamboo blade instead. This is Egyptian Kageryu Naginata, but this is the one I happen to have at home during lockdown. So in terms of length, it's basically the same, structure is the same, very long handle with a short blade of about 50 centimeters. So I'm just going to review basic stance. I'm using this cardboard and it'll make sense in a minute. So if I'm standing in front of you, this is shizentai, it's neutral position. So I basically have my heels together, my feet can be slightly turned out, my knees, my thighs are together. My Naginata is held in the right hand. So if you have a broom handle or anything, you'll have it on your right hand side. You just wrap your right hand around it gently. Your right wrist should be sitting on your right hip bone. So if you can feel your right hip bone, it's just going to rest against that. And that's the height at which your Naginata will be held against your body. The left hand is just kind of a closed mitt position, loosely against the leg. To bow in, we bow from the waist, so we don't let the butt go out. What we do is we bow from the upper body, trying to keep a straight line from the crown of your head to the small of your back. We just bow 15 degrees and then come straight back up. So the command for that is ret. Back up. Because it's a 15-degree bow, we can actually maintain eye contact. So if you're working with a partner, you can still see them as you come down without raising your chin. This is shizentai, a neutral position, basically where you'll start when you come up to the beginning of class or when you match with a new partner. And from there, you're going to go into our basic stance called chudan-no-kamae. So chudan-no-kamae is a fairly neutral stance. It's what you do to start a pattern or end a pattern with a partner. And to do that, all we do is put our left hand on top of our right. And as we step out with our left foot, we let the Naginata, or we pull the Naginata through with our left hand. So I'm going to stand from the side so you can see a little bit clearer. I put the left hand on the top. I loosen the right hand so it can slide further down. And I step forward. And I bring the Naginata through with me. Now, in terms of my feet, what we're trying to do is create a bit of a perpendicular shape. So what we have here is your front foot. So if we look at this cardboard box, front line is the line on which my partner or opponent is. So I'm pointing my front foot across that line towards my partner. My back foot is pointing towards the next side or the right-hand side of the box. So it's basically an L shape or a right angle. That's not comfortable for a lot of people, so you can bring the toes around a little bit more. So if that makes it a bit easier for you. But what we're trying to do is have front foot pointing towards the front of the box, back foot pointing towards the side of the box, and we're going to pull our hips and our shoulders around to face the side of the box. Again, you can adjust this a little bit. It's not a normal stance for everyone by any means. Don't worry about getting it perfect. This is just to give you an idea. So really the idea, what we have here is my front foot and my head and my left arm are towards my opponent, who's directly in front of me here. My hips, my shoulders are facing towards the wall. And that's one reason I have that cardboard is so you can see that shape. So this is chudan-no-kamae. The other features of chudan-no-kamae is you want to make sure that your back arm or your back elbow reaches the back of the Naginata or the broom handle if you're using one, for example. You don't want it down here, you don't want it here. This gives you a good balance at all times. So we're always going to be checking distance from this back elbow or this back hand. Once we've got that, we're going to take a Naginata and just raise it up to the sides. So comfortably just outside shoulder height. So this should be a comfortable position to hold. That's the correct distance between your front and back hand. So back elbow to the back of the Naginata, shoulder width apart for a nice comfortable position. And to go into chudan-no-kamae from there, we take our backhand and we let it rest where our leg meets our groin. So if you're wearing underwear, generally that's the panty line. And so the front hand just gets shifted forward to wherever that takes it. And this is chudan-no-kamae. So our most basic stance that we start in. We're going to look at some of the basic footwork, which some of you have done before. So I'm going to move the cardboard out of the way so I don't trip over. We're going to start with the easiest one really, which is Ayumi-ashi, which is pretty much just walking. So we're going to take 4 steps forward. So my right foot will cross over first, right, left, right, left. And to go backwards, I cross my left foot behind me. Left, right, left, right. I know I'm saying left and right, but you can do this on the other side of the body in another kamae, but for now, we're just going hands behind us, a left hand forward. So Ayumi-ashi, mai or forward, back foot crosses, front, back foot crosses, front. Ayumi-ashi ato or backwards, cross, open, cross, open. What you may have noticed is that on my last step, either going forward or backwards, I'm doing sort of a little shuffle in with my opposing leg. This actually builds it into another footwork called Okuri-ashi. So Okuri-ashi is literally going from pushing from the opposite foot to the direction you're going. So if I want to go forward here, my right leg's at the back, I push my right leg to move forward. So my left foot is just quite soft and it just gets pushed forward from the power of my back leg. So if I'm going forward or I push with my back leg. If I'm going backwards, I push with my front leg. So I lift up my back foot and I lift it up. And so you can see the power is put furthest away from the direction we're going, so at the back of the motion. I'm also trying to make sure that my feet, my heels always come back underneath my hips. It's a nice, stable position. Out here, you're more likely to lose your balance, too close in, and again, it makes you unstable. So you're always trying to keep your heels underneath your feet. So again, if I'm going to do a Okuri-ashi, I'm going to just push off from the back foot. And as I do that, I also make sure, so I step and I bring that foot back in underneath my hips. So I'm going backwards, push off, bring it in underneath my hips, underneath my hips, underneath my hips. Those are 2 of the basic footwork. I know I'm probably running through these a little bit fast because we have done some of these in previous online sessions. But again, if you're feeling a little confused or unclear, put up your hand. So just go through those ones again. So Ayumi-ashi, mai, cross, open, cross, open. Ato or backwards, cross, open, cross, open. Okuri-ashi, mai, Okuri-ashi, mai, Okuri-ashi, mai. Ato, going backwards, Okuri-ashi, ato, Okuri-ashi, ato, Okuri-ashi, ato. That's 2 basic footwork. The third one, it's Tsugyashi. Sorry, the light's shifting a bit here, so it's making it a bit harder for you. Wait till the camera picks me back up again. Hello. So Tsugyashi is more what some people refer to as a skipping step. You can put Naginata out of the way. You bring one foot into the other, and then you do an Okuri-ashi. One foot in, Okuri-ashi. So you bring them closer so that you're gaining close to the direction you're getting to. You go backwards, I bring the front foot in, and I Okuri-ashi backwards. Front foot in, Okuri-ashi backwards. So this is Tsugi-ashi. So Tsugi-ashi mai, Tsugi-ashi mai, Tsugi-ashi mai, and to go backwards, Tsugyashi ato, bring it in, and Okuri-ashi. Tsugyashi ato, Tsugyashi ato. That's 3 basic footwork. Ayumi-ashi, walking step, ich, ni, san, shi. Ayumi-ashi ato, ich, ni, san, shi. Okuri-ashi, so single step, ich, ich. Okuri-ashi ato, 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 ato. Tsugyashi, so this is a skipping step, Tsugyashi mai, Tsugyashi mai, Tsugyashi mai. Going backwards, Tsugyashi ato, Tsugyashi ato, Tsugyashi ato. For those of you who have done these sessions before, I'm going to introduce 2 new footwork for you now, just so you can see how they work. Again, don't worry if you don't get them right now at this moment. This video recording will be made available afterwards, so you can always come back and refer to it. So the other 2 footwork we're going to look at, or the first of them, is Harakiashi. And this basically allows us to change sides. So don't worry too much about the Naginata or whatever you're using. You can pop that down for a moment. If we start with the left foot forward, right foot out to the side, Harakiashi is literally us swapping the feet so we're facing the other side. So we bring the right foot forward to face the front, and then the left foot draws back. So use your hip to draw back. This is not Harakiashi, this is Fumikae-ashi. So Fumikae-ashi, we bring the foot forward and the other one back. So we're basically just reversing our position. So Fumikae-ashi, we bring the back foot in and then change sides. Fumikae-ashi, we bring it in and change sides. So if you're holding a Naginata, you actually change your kamae at the same time. So you bring it into the center and swap it over, in and over, in and over, in and over. I'm just going to show you from the side as well, so you can see both positions, both steps. Sorry, not back, forward, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Because Naginata, everything can be done on both sides of the body. At the moment, we're just focusing on the right to make it a little bit easier. So it's Fumikae-ashi, which just allows you to change your kamae. The last one is Harakiashi, and this is basically a sideways step. So we don't necessarily stay on the line. So sometimes someone might be coming directly at us, and we don't want to be there. So we do Harakiashi, which is stepping up to the side. If I'm going to the right, I step with my right foot, left, right foot, left. So we're basically going to end up going in a big circle if I keep going that way. If I need to go to the left, I step with my left foot first, to the right, left to the right, left to the right. So you end up going in a little bit as you can pretty much go around in a circle. So Harakiashi migi, which is to the right, I step with the right foot. Harakiashi migi. If I go to the left, Harakiashi hidari, Harakiashi hidari. So just checking the time. So that's the basic footwork. Ayumi-ashi, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back. Ayumi-ashi ato. Okuri-ashi mai. Okuri-ashi ato. Tsugyashi mai. Tsugyashi ato. Fumikae-ashi. And Harakiashi. And Harakiashi hidari. Does anyone have any questions about the footwork at the moment? I know we've run through it very quickly. I'm not expecting anyone to have it perfect. I don't have it perfect. This is always a progression for your work. All right. No questions? Okay. So we're going to look at our kamae. You've already had a look at chudan-no-kamae. That's one of our most basic stances, the one you learned first. So again, just reiterating, check the back distance, shoulder width, and then the backhand just comes sitting in the groin there. So this is chudan-no-kamae. We have a defensive lock called Gedan-no-kamae, and all that happens is that the backhand, in this case the right hand, is going to rotate up towards our back shoulder. So the front hand is just loose. You can open arm a little bit, fingers so it can turn. So the whole weapon rotates as you bring it up. This is Gedan-no-kamae. It's used for defending your leg against cuts for most part. This is also used as a block. So Gedan-no-kamae, chudan-no-kamae, Gedan-no-kamae, chudan-no-kamae, Gedan-no-kamae, chudan-no-kamae. Another position we have is Wacky Nogame, which is basically reversing position. So if I bring the Naginata into the center and literally turn it around, all that's happening is I'm making sure the blade is facing the same direction as my body. Obviously, using a broom handle or something like that, you're not going to be able to see that, but that's okay. So this is Wacky Nogame. The difference between this and chudan-no-kamae is the weapon's actually rotated onto its side. And instead of having my hand here, where the groin is, I actually have it so I have a fist width between my hand and my hips, or my legs on each side of the body. So it's nicely balanced here. This is used for something we call door cuts, where you basically are striking to the center of the body, but this is Wacky Nogame. Come back to chudan, we bring it back to center. And then the backhand comes back in to the groin. So chudan-no-kamae, Wacky Nogame, chudan-no-kamae, Wacky Nogame, chudan-no-kamae. Okay. A couple of other stances again. These are getting a little bit more advanced in some of these as well. Jodan-no-kamae is not one you're going to come up against very often, but it's an easy one to demonstrate from here. We're going to pretty much bring our right hand to our left, and we bring it above our head. So we're kind of in a big open position here. So from the front, this is what it looks like. From your position, if I was attacking you, this is where I'd be. So I pull my shoulder blades back so that I can still see past my hands. This is quite an aggressive position. It's generally only something you do if you're more senior and you're really sure of your technique. It's kind of offensive in the, I am so good, I can do this. You still need to know how to do it, but you aren't going to use it very often. Again, come down to chudan-no-kamae, you select the left hand to the right, and then the right hand to the back. You can always check your zone. So from chudan-no-kamae, bring the hands together and over the top. Come back to chudan, bring the left hand in, right hand down. Chudan-no-kamae, Jodan-no-kamae. Chudan-no-kamae, Jodan-no-kamae. Chudan-no-kamae. The last one I'm going to show you is hasso-no-kamae. This one, Effie, you've done that one in the face-to-face class we had. So from here, what we do is bring our right hand into our left, we bring the weapon to the center. And then our left hand is going to slip down to our hip as we pull the Naginata up towards our ear. So if I'm on the side, so that if you were I was facing you rather, this is the position you would see. It's quite an aggressive stance. We use this for attacks called hasso-no-kamae or soku-men or hasso-sune. And you're pulling the weapon against your body. If you're female, basically think of it as coming on your sternum, generally between the breastline. For men, kind of crossing around the nipple height on your sternum. But you're making it part of your body by pulling it into your body. So it's a lot stronger position. To come back to chudan-no-kamae, the front or hip hand comes to the center, and then the right hand slips to the back. So, chudan-no-kamae. You go into hasso, bring it to the center, right hand to the ear, left hand to the hip. To come back to chudan-no-kamae, left hand to the center, right hand to the back, to the groin. Hasso-no-kamae, hands to the center, hands to the ear. Chudan-no-kamae, hands to the center, and to the groin. So those are the basic kamae. Chudan-no-kamae, hasso-no-kamae, Gedan-no-kamae, Wacky Nogame, Jodan-no-kamae. So again, don't worry if you don't have those smooth or down pat. It's really just to give you an introduction to the different kamae that we have, with the different stances. All right, that being said, if you want to grab a quick drink, I might, because my throat's getting a bit sore. What we're going to do next is actually have a look at a couple of different cuts. So again, if you did the face-to-face or you've seen some of the online classes, we're going to go back to the basic Furiagate-men. This is the first cut you ever learn. And I'm just going to demonstrate from here what the cut actually is. So we start in chudan-no-kamae, we step forward, and we bring our weapon back down again. This is Furiagate-men, so I'm aiming for head height. I'm aiming to hit around the top curvature of my weapon, pretty much where it changes from that curve into the straight. That's called our mono-itch. And that's where I'm aiming to attack something my height. So from chudan-no-kamae, you step through with the right foot as you bring your right hand up above your body. So you can see the weapon's coming down behind me. My right arm is in front. As I step forward with my left leg, I'm going to bring my weapon back down again. Kind of to the center of my body, so not back to the groin, more to the center, lower than the belly button generally. So what happens is this right arm is making an arc, and that's where you get the power from. So I'll do it from here so you can see my body position. So I'm facing the side. I step forward to face you. I step forward to face the side again. So I'm back to the same kamae or hummy as I began with. Doing it from the side on view. So this is the wall. My opponent's over to the front there. I turn to face my opponent. I turn to face back to the side. And this is Furiagate-men. Ichi. Don't worry too much about the hand positions. Just think about where your body's going. So it faces the wall, faces the front, it faces the wall. So face the front, face the wall. Face the front, face the wall. And again, front and wall. And try not to hit any of the house while you do it. That's Furiagate-men. This can also be done for a leg cut or sune. And we're aiming for a height between our knee and our ankle. The difference between this and Furiagate-men. So I'm going to show you the stance of Furiagate-men. This is where I'd end up for a men cut. If I want to cut to the leg, I can just drop the weapon here, but it's quite an uncomfortable position. So I actually kneel into it with the front leg, and I let the weapon come up a little bit higher on my body, in between my arm and my body. So it's a much more comfortable position. It gives me several inches more doing it that than being up here. So if I was attacking, I think you can see the fence in the background here. If I just stood here, that's as far as I get. I get a lot longer reach if I kneel into it. That's a bit of an exaggeration. You don't really want to go that far, but just to give you an idea of the bent knee. So for Furiagate-sune, same start, we come forward. As we come down, that front leg, that left leg steps a little bit further out, and you kneel into it. One of the reasons we talk about having the foot pointing towards your opponent is if, for example, I'm doing this knee here, and my foot's off to the side, I'm putting a lot of pressure on the side of my knee, which is a really bad position for it to have. By pointing our foot directly at our opponent, our knee goes directly towards them, and it's a much stronger and more stable position. You get a lot less chance of doing any damage or injury to yourself there. So you always want the knee, front foot, pointing towards your opponent if you can. So, Furiagate-sune, we step through with the right foot and come down with the left. And you can see my hand is a little bit around my belly button, a little bit higher, kind of just underneath my sternum. And step back. Furiagate-sune, ichi, and back. Furiagate-sune, ichi. Good. All right. So it's the Furiagate cuts. So they're used for men cuts, so coming directly down the center of the head, and Furiagate-sune, which is coming for the area between your knee and your ankle. All right. Anyone got any questions on that so far? As I said, I know I'm rushing through things, but it's mostly because we've covered some of this in the previous session. No? Tumbleweeds or silence? Okay. We're going to look at hasso. So hasso-men. So again, we're going for the head. Hasso-men's a little bit different because the cut's coming from the side, or actually aiming at is sort of a 15-degree angle from the center. So Furiagate-men comes down the center. Soku-men comes kind of a little bit out from the eyebrows. So trace your eyebrows out to that part of the head. That's kind of the angle you're looking for, a slight angle to the side of the head. So hasso or soku-men, we start in chudan, the right hand at the back, left hand in front. We bring the right hand to the left, and then come up into hasso. So we start this cut in hasso-no-kamae. So again, if I'm facing you, so you're my opponent or my webcam's the opponent, for me to attack from here, I'm going to step through with my right foot. So step through with that foot. And as I do so, I'm going to think about bringing my left hand, which is at my hip, up into my sternum. So just where the rib cage starts, at the center of your body. So from here, I step through. And this is the position it ends at. If you think about that, that'll help drive the angle forward, or the weapon forward. So from here, which is hasso-no-kamae, my left hand's on my hip, I'm going to think about bringing it into my sternum as I step forward with the right foot. If you Tsugyashi back from there, you'll find you're actually in the other kamae. You might not have done this one before, but it now means your left hand is at your groin. It's also the one that you're doing the distance with here. And then again, shoulder width and back here. So this is Naginata or chudan. So you're on the other side of the body. So now I'm facing this way. Again, don't worry if you don't have all this down. I'm going to bring left hand into the center, left hand into the ear. Now we're on hasso on the other side. And so if I want to step forward with the left foot, I'm going to bring my right hand into my sternum. And this is hasso-no-kamae, or soku-men. If you're having trouble with the other side, don't worry about it. Just to this side where you've got the right hand, and then return to this each time. So right hand to the center, right hand to the ear, right hand step through. And then just change back to Hidari Chudan here. Right hand at the back, right hand to the center, right hand to the ear, step through. Right hand to the center, to the ear, step through. So this is soku-men. So as I said, we can do this on either side. Bring it up to the ear, strike through, bring the hand into the sternum, to the center, to the ear. Tip hand goes into the sternum. This is hasso-no-kamae. And I can see Kaylin's waiting to come in. Does anyone have any questions about soku-men at this point? No? All right. Okay. In that case, as I said, I know we're kind of speeding through things today. And that's simply because we've done previous sessions. And you can go and review those ones if you want. We're going to try and piece these together to create a pattern. So what we're going to look at here is a pattern called Uchikaeshi. Actually, no. Let's not do Uchikaeshi. That was a bad idea. We haven't done
Okay, and you may have died for a second.
Oh, have I?
Oh, there we go. Okay, now you're back. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. What was the last thing I said?
Something about Uchikaeshi. I can't remember.
Okay. Well, we're going to can the idea of Uchikaeshi because we haven't done hasso-sune. So what we are going to look at is Ipponme, Nihonme, which are the first two shikaki, oji kata. Shikaki meaning attacker, oji meaning receiver. So these are pattern sets you do with a partner. There are 8 of these sets. There are another set of parts later on that you can learn, but we're not going to be doing those in these sessions. So we're just going to do the shikaki or the attacker side because this only requires you to do the cut. So for Ipponme, your first attack is Furiagate-men, hasso-sune. So we're going to learn hasso-sune as we go. And then we can do Uchikaeshi. So if we start in chudan-no-kamae, we're going to do Furiagate-men. So we step through and we do a men. From here, instead of coming to chudan, we're going to bring our right hand into our left, come up into hasso. We're going to step through with the right foot to do hasso-sune. So it's the same as a Furiagate-sune and a hasso cut. So I step through, I kneel in, and I cut down towards the ankle. This is hasso-sune. So just review that one again. Chudan-no-kamae. Step through for Furiagate-men, so forward and straight down. We bring our hands together, hands to the ear and the hip. And now this left hand's going to come to the sternum as I step through with the right leg. So this is hasso-sune. Move forward so you can see a little bit there. So hasso-sune. You wait there for a moment because your partner has actually stepped off the line and they've done a men attack. From here, you're going to push off the right leg and step back. Bring your Naginata to your hand, center. Step through with the left foot, so you're back in chudan-no-kamae. And then you'd walk 4 steps back using Ayumi-ashi to where you started. So this is Ipponme, the first kata. I'm going to do it facing you as if you were my partner. So I'll come through, step forward, Furiagate-men. I bring my hands to the center, right hand to the ear, left hand to the hip, hasso-sune. I wait, my partner steps off to my right behind me. They attack with a hasso-men. They step back. From here, I push off my right foot, hands to the center. So I'm facing straight where I began. Chudan-no-kamae. And I'm going to walk back 4 steps. Ayumi-ashi. This is Ipponme. Again, chudan-no-kamae. Step through the right foot, for Furiagate-men. Hands together, hands to the hip and ear, hasso-sune. Step back forward into chudan. We take 4 Ayumi-ashi steps back with each ni, san, shi. Ipponme kata. So Furiagate-men, hasso-sune. Anyone have any questions about Ipponme? No? All good? All right. So we're going to look at the second kata, which is Nihonme. Second kata. I know I'm repeating that, my brain is not functioning. So Nihonme is basically the reverse. We're going to do Furiagate-sune, hasso-men. So again, showing you from the side is if my partner is over here. I go Furiagate. Instead of going for men, I kneel through into sune. I push off here to come back into hasso-men. Again, my partner steps off to the side. They're going to cut to my leg this time because that's open. I step back, same as I did before. I step forward into chudan-no-kamae, and I take 4 steps back. Ich, ni, san, shi. So again, Nihonme. Furiagate, step through. Sune. Hasso-men. You wait. You step back, hands together. You step through into chudan, and we take 4 steps back. Ich, ni, san, shi. Again, I'll do it facing as if you were my partner. So Furiagate-men. Sorry, Furiagate-sune, step forward. Through to sune. Hands together, hands to the hip and the ear. Hasso-men. Your partner steps off behind you. They attack your leg. They retreat. We step back, hands together, so we're facing forward. Change sides, so we're back. And 4 steps back. Ich, ni, san, shi. Okay. So those are katas number 1 and 2. Does anyone have any questions on 1 and 2? Or comments? Emma and Effie, how are you going?
Hi, I'm going good. I'm just getting mixed up on which side to do things, I think, because it's on a screen and not in
That's
person.
okay. That's okay. And Zoom classes are really hard to teach this kind of thing. So don't stress. One of the nice things about Naginata is everything we do on one side, we actually do on the other. So I'll try and demonstrate a little bit better for some of those basics for you. So this is chudan-no-kamae. This is my right leg. My right hand at the back here is in the groin. Left hand. This is where we basically start everything. So always with the right back is the first way you'll learn it. So for Furiagate-men, I'll try and talk about as the back front hand. So back foot and back hand come to the front. And then front hand and front leg come back and over. That's for Furiagate, whether you're doing men or sune. So it's literally as if you're just walking from this way. So I'm facing the wall with my foot forward. Doesn't matter which leg's in front. I turn to face the front, and then I turn back to face that wall. And that's what the body is doing for Furiagate cuts. Body to the wall, body to the front, body to the wall. And the hands make more sense to move around that way because you don't want to get the weapon caught on your body. So regardless of what I'm using my hands, I'm just trying to get my hands out of the way by putting them up above me. And then I'm just bringing them back, very similar to where I started. So I'll try and stop using right and left. I'll try and use back and front a little bit more because as I said, we can do this all on the other side too. So eventually you get to learn to do everything from the other side of the body. So front and back is probably a bit more relevant. Let's just run through Ipponme one more time. So what's the easiest way to face you? So again, right foot back. So step through with your back foot and back arm and bring this arm that's now at the front into your stomach for Furiagate-men. We're going to bring our hands to the center, the back hand to the ear, This hand that's on the hip, we're going to think about bringing it into the sternum as we step through. That's the hasso-sune. Step back, bring our hands together, step forward on the other side, and we walk back. We'll do that one again. So back foot and back arm comes through. Bring it down for men. Hands to the center. Back hand to the ear. Front hand will come to the sternum. Then step back. Step forward. And retreat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Nihonme. We're now going to go down low first, and then for a men cut or head cut. So same starting cut, come forward, backhand and back leg come through. This time we're going to come down towards the leg. We're going to bring our hands together, backhand to the ear, front hand on the hip is going to come to the sternum, but we're going to keep the cut up high so that we're going for a men cut. So I'm just moving back into line so you can see a bit. Step back. Step forward, and we retreat. So those are Ipponme and Nihonme, the attacking side. Generally, you learn the attacking side first because it's much simpler in many respects, and you're not having to worry about blocking. Normally, the senior person will be the person as the oji to receive, because they've got a better chance of blocking any cut that might be a little bit off angle or a little bit dangerous. So learning the basic cuts for this is good. I'm going to try, Michael, did you have anything to add on that? No, okay. All right, so we've got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to try and teach something a little bit more advanced, because I know Effie's been doing all of these ones for past one face-to-face. And this is basically combining those techniques we've just learned, which is Furiagate-men, hasso-men, and hasso-sune. And this is the pattern I was referring to, Uchikaeshi. So this is basically building on these basic cuts we've just done. So what we do, we start in chudan-no-kamae. I'm just going to demonstrate this one, so don't worry about trying to follow it too much. Start in chudan-no-kamae. And I think my internet's being a little bit unstable, so I'll just hoping it's going to reconnect there. Is it back again? Okay, good. So don't worry about trying to follow too much on this one. I'm just going to talk it through. Start in chudan. Furiagate-men. Hasso-men. Hasso-men. Hasso-sune. Hasso-sune. And a Tsugyashi back to chudan. That's the most basic version of Uchikaeshi. So normally be moving further forward. I have a little less room here because of the setup. I'm going to move the camera around slightly, so bear with me for a brief second. You can have another view of the house. All right, so I've got a little bit more walking room. So Furiagate-men, hasso-men, hasso-men, hasso-sune, hasso-sune, Tsugyashi. Again, it's not a lot of room for you to see. I'll try that again. So we're just going to walk through the pattern very slowly. So if you start in chudan-no-kamae, we're going to go Furiagate-men. So we step through with the back leg, men cut. Bring our hands to the center, back hand to the ear. We're going to go hasso-men. Now you can't see from this side because my back's to you, but you're going to bring your hands to the center, back hand to the ear, step through with the back leg for hasso-men. I'm going to move back a bit. Bring the hands to the center, back hand to the ear. We're going for a snake cut, so a little bit lower, hasso-sune. Hands to the center, back hand to the ear, step through, hasso-sune. And we're going to do a little Tsugyashi, a little skipping step back into chudan-no-kamae. So don't worry if your hands are getting a little bit mucked up. This is quite a hard one to learn on Zoom, but hopefully you get an idea of some of the techniques. If you go back over this video, practicing just the Furiagate-men and the hustle cuts, it will help you start to combine these cuts. It's a little bit of a build on what we did with Ipponme and Nihonme. Just going to run through that again. So I'm going to step back after each one, which you can do too if you don't have a lot of room. We're going to go to Furiagate-men, ich, ni. We're going to move back into here. Bring the hands to the center, hands to the ear. Step through, men. And bring my hands to the center, back hand to the ear. Step through, men. Myself a bit more room. Hands to the center, hands to the ear. Snake up. Hands to the center, hands to the ear. Snake up. And then a little Tsugyashi, little skip back to chudan-no-kamae. We'll do that again, and then I'll stop the questions for a minute. All right. So, Furiagate-men. Hands together, back hand to the ear. Hasso-men. Hands to the center, back hand to the ear. Hasso-men. Hands to the center, back hand to the ear. Hasso-sune. Hands to the center, back hand to the ear. Hasso-sune. Tsugyashi. Okay, that was a lot of information I was throwing at you there, and a lot of body work. So, how are you going? I mean, Kaylin and Michael, I'm pretty sure you know how to do this one, so I'm not too worried about you, apart from potentially hitting things in the bedroom.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't respond before. I was too slow on the touchpad.
don't stress. Emma, Effie, how are you going?
Doing fine. I think it's more a timing thing that I'm lacking. So getting the force from turning your body and getting my broomstick in the right place at the right time to maximize that force. And I think that's what
Don't even worry about that. Don't even worry about the force right now. The force will come. The force will be with you eventually.
Nice.
I'm lacking the force.
So yeah, don't worry. The power and the timing for that will come later once your body's used to the pattern of things. So honestly, if you can just get your body used to where the arms are, where they're switching to, where your body's directing, that'll actually be a really, really great start. The power is something we really look at further on. We have talked about it in previous sessions. Most of you are curious about where that power comes from. But when people are starting out, honestly, I do not expect anyone to have that control. So don't worry about it.
No, it's all good. It's just that's the bit that I'm trying to work out desperately in my fuzzy little brain.
That's okay. And look, that sometimes helps people to figure out things. So if you want, I can talk about that briefly. But I just want to check in with Emma, see how Emma's going.
Yes, please.
Emily, hi, thanks. I'm going okay. I just think I need to watch this video again and again to practice.
That's okay. Look, I threw a lot of stuff into this video. The previous ones, there's been a little bit more on the theory and I've gone a little bit slower. The only reason I picked this one up is simply because those people who've been coming for, if you're watching a few of the previous ones, they'll have done some of this stuff before. So don't worry if you're feeling a little bit, there's so much there. That's absolutely. So some of the earlier videos will probably have helped you. I don't know if you've seen them on the YouTube site or the Facebook event.
Yeah, I'll watch them on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. There are some other good links in one of the playlists I've got up there that can take you through the basics too. But for now, even if you're just getting some of the movements or some of the body positions in your head, that's so don't stress too much about that. But again, if you've got anything specific where you're going, I have no idea what you just did, let me know. Or send me an email or private message me. That's so for Effie, I'm just going to go through some of the power positions in the cut for Uchikaeshi, just because this does make more sense when you're doing it for Ipponme. So the first thing to understand is the power is always going to be in the hand that is furthest, that is at the back at the end of the strike, which sounds weird. I'm just going to demonstrate now with Furiagate-men. This is my backhand, my right hand at the moment. I step through. This is the end of the cut when it makes contact with the target. The power is in the back hand, not the front. And the reason for that is if I'm doing this as a cut, even without the weapon, if you think about where my arms are moving to, my front hand is going from here to here to here. That's not a lot of movement. That's not a lot of power generation you can make from an arm. My backhand, however, is going from here all the way up and all the way down. I'm getting this beautiful half circle of power. If you think about, if you've ever, I guess, taken something like a rope or bucket of water and you spin it, the bigger the arc, the more power you get naturally from the gravity, from the momentum, from the arc. The shorter that arc, the smaller, the less power you get, the less easy to control. So the power is always going to come from the backhand. And I apologize if that sounds very convoluted. It makes much more sense in my head and sometimes more as a visual. So from here, even if I take my left hand off, that's a big arc of movement. You can't see this, but the amount of power I'm having to stop with this backhand is quite immense. This is not a really heavy weapon, but simply because the gravity, the leverage power is so long, it's a lot heavier. I'm also at the back of the weapon here. So here, that has a lot more momentum and force at the moment. If I'm here, I'm kind of balanced in the center and there's a lot less power. So if you have a broom handle or what have you in your hand, if you hold it in the center, it's much easier to control. You know, the power is fairly balanced, the weight's very balanced. If you hold it near the end, you'll find it's a lot harder to control. There's a lot more momentum and gravity, weight down the front end. And that's part of it. What we're doing with this backhand is we're allowing that power to come through because of the length of the weapon at the front. The front hand is literally just guiding it and providing a little bit of support, especially in Furiagate-men. So here, this left hand's really not doing a lot. It's holding in position. This right hand up front here is the power hand. It's working around the leverage point with my center hand. Sorry, the light's very, very glaring at the moment. So this is your fulcrum at the center of the weapon where it's balanced. This is the power hand that's off center, closer to the end. So I can do a lot more damage using the power from that back of the weapon rather than at the center of the weapon. So Furiagate-men, power comes from the backhand. So the backhand that starts on the hip is the same one that powers the end of the cut. For Hasso-no-kamae, again, hands together, hands to here. This one's currently the front hand, but when I step through, it's now the hand at the back, and this is what powers my weapon. Again, this is because this is at the back of the weapon, there's a lot more force involved, a lot harder for me to stop. The front hand is there literally just to stop it by gripping or to nudge. So power will always be at the hand that is at the back of the two when you finish the cut. So if I'm doing Uchikaeshi, and I will turn around so you can see positions as I do it. So Furiagate-men, power hand is the back hand here. I come into Hasso, this hand that starts on the hip. I'm gonna go from here. This is the power hand, the one that comes into the center of the body. Come into Hasso. Power hand is the one, again, that comes into the center. So I'm having to turn around a lot. It's very hard to visualize this on Zoom. But hand at the back of the strike. It's also generally, for most parts, the one that ends up in the center line of your body. That's going to be your power hand when you give it. So hopefully that helps you out, Effie. If it doesn't, feel free to message me, give me a call, or chat now, that's fine. But it is a lot harder without the actual effort. You want the weight and balance.
No, that was awesome. I guess, yes, that definitely will help my brain work out which hand I should be using. The other bit I need, I think it's a synchronization between my feet and where they are and when I'm actually doing the hit. And I think I'm too early or too late, and that's affecting that feeling of it.
And that is perfectly normal. That is absolutely normal. As I think Michael is about to agree.
Yeah,
on that
7
one.
years down the track, still trying to get that right, Effie.
Okay, good. I've got a bit of a way to go then.
So yeah, don't worry. Naginata, any Budo is an art of progression. No, you're never going to get to this peak perfection moment. It's always aiming to improve over the lifetime of your practice. So I will make mistakes. They make mistakes. You will make mistakes. That's perfectly normal. No one is going to.
How you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was just something that I noticed I felt wasn't quite right, and it's something I need to work on. That's all.
No,
there is a phrase called shizentai, which is basically refers to the mind, the body, and the spirit all coming together at that one perfect. And that is the end of the stride. I'm going to try and demonstrate that very badly, I am sure, using Furiagate-men. Just trying to make sure that isn't too glaring. So we generally kiai at the end of the strike. So this is partway through the strike. I'm going to try and make sure that when I finish my strike, my right hand is in my center, my front foot is planted, my left hand is locked, and my weapon's stopped on target, and I kiai at the same time. So from here, met. That one moment at the end where everything comes together. So the kiai, the tsugi-ashi where we lock the hand, the weapon stopping on target, the front foot landing, our backhand in position, strength hand. So all of those things come together, make up shizentai, that one perfect moment when everything stops, where we're all in harmony. So it does take a long time. And so you'll get people quite often, and I'll do this too occasionally if I'm not thinking, men, they call too early and their hand's still going when their front leg is planted. Or the reverse. Men, calling afterwards. What we're aiming for is men. That one moment when everything comes together. And that's something you spend your entire Budo life working towards. Is that perfect? And it's rarer than you think. And that's normal. If we get close to it, that's a wonderful thing. But just having that one instance where everything comes together just helps clean up all of your technique. So it's what we aim towards, but it's not something we expect early on or even later on.
No, thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense.
You're welcome. So I said this was a very kind of technique filled session. The previous ones have had a little bit more balance between a little bit of technique, a little bit of theory and discussion. But I wanted to provide a little bit more this week in showing a few more techniques so that you can use this one to build up on everything. So we had all of our kamae. I'll just run through them again. So chudan-no-kamae, Gedan-no-kamae, Wacky Nogame, Hasso-no-kamae, and Jodan-no-kamae. We had our footwork, so Ayumi-ashi, ich, ni, san, shi, and going backwards, ich, ni, san, shi, Okuri-ashi, Okuri-ashi ato, and ato, and ato, Tsugyashi, bring it in and out, Tsugyashi, Tsugyashi, and backwards, Tsugyashi ato, Tsugyashi ato, Tsugyashi ato, Fumikae-ashi, step forward, and then change sides. And Harakiashi migi, migi, Harakiashi hidari or left, left foot, left, and then right. Furiagate-men, so stepping through. For men, or for snake. Hustle, hands together, back. For men, or from here, for snake. So that's a number of different techniques to have a bit of a look at. I said we did go through the classes with Ipponme, Furiagate-men, hasso-sune, Nihonme, Furiagate-sune, hasso-men. an Uchikaeshi, which is Furiagate-men, hasso-men, hasso-men, hasso-sune, hasso-sune, and Tsugyashi back to Jodan. So don't worry if you don't remember any of this. Don't worry if you don't remember any of the names. This is something that is very hard to learn over Zoom. So even if you take away one or two little bits and pieces, that's a great. And always feel free to ask questions. I very much suspect we'll still be in lockdown next week. So that being the case, I will either be outside here if the weather's nice or inside if not. Yeah, if we are still in lockdown, I will be off another online session. And the pace will probably change a little bit more to go over technique a little bit more in detail with you. And you can have a little bit more time to ask more questions, I guess, about anything that is bothering you. I probably won't add much more than that to the sessions at this point until everyone's feeling a little bit. So apart from that, did anyone have any questions or comments? No, whether it's related to what we've done or to Naginata in general?
No, that was an awesome session. Thanks, Em.
Always welcome. How about you, Emma? Any questions?
Yeah, I did have one about kata and what that is. Is that always with a partner, or is it like in karate where it's a specific sequence?
It's both, actually. So great question. So kata for Naginata is always with a partner. You can practice on your own, but it's very hard because there's an expectation of resistance or something to work against. So you can learn all the kata in isolation, both the attacking and the receiving, but it makes a lot more sense when you do it with a partner. So the basic ones you learn, there are 8. That's not 8. That's 8. That's 8. There are 8 shikaki or jikata, so where you have part, the attacker and you learn both sides of those eventually. There is a later set called the Zen Nihon kata, and they use a slightly heavier version of the one I'm using today, so full oak weapon. The timing on those ones is very precise, and it's quite an aggressive looking kata in comparison, but they're very, very beautiful. I will try and put some links to that up in the Facebook group today, so you can have a look at what the Zen Nihon kata look like, because they are magnificent when they're done. But yeah, kata is always done with a partner. If you're doing a style like Iaido, their kata is pretty much on their own, but ours are all partners.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Any questions or comments from anyone else at all? Anything at all?
All good, Em. Thank you very much for running the session today.
That's all right. I know it's a bit hard when you're in a small space. It helps keep the headphones in place as much as anything else. The other thing too is if you are planning to come to the session next week, feel free to put something in the Facebook post or the Facebook event saying if there's anything particularly you want to look at or ask about. But I'm always happy to develop these classes pretty naturally. As you might find in the previous video sessions, it's very much a give and take. So I'll talk to you a lot and then find out what you want to do, or I'll modify it. This one is a little bit more technical and teachy, which is not normally what I do in one of these sessions. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, feel free to put up your hand. Any suggestions, any requests? I am pretty open.
Okay.
Alrighty.
No worries.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I might see some of you next week and maybe on the Facebook page. So have a lovely rest of your weekend, whatever you're doing.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Em.
Thank you.
Thank you.